Hello and welcome everyone to Inspiring Hope, a show that celebrates people who are making a difference in our world. And it's springtime today. We are celebrating gardens. I know I've been out in my garden. However, I have a very special guest today because we're going to be talking about enchanted gardens. This is Deborah. You go by Deb Schaffer. Welcome, Deb. And how is your garden growing today?
Hi, Lois. I'm so happy to be here. And as I'm sitting here at my computer, I can look over it and see my gardens just growing. Everything is looking so filled with life. I'm here in Virginia, so I'm a little bit ahead of you up there in New England.
Yes.
And loving every second of it. Let me tell you, I am not a winter person. So this is totally my energetic jam.
That's wonderful. Yes, I was thinking of you as I am grooming my gardens, and our daffodils here in New Hampshire are just now blooming, and the peonies are starting to come up. They shoot up so fast. So
Mhm.
you and I share this passion for gardening, and you take it to a whole new level, which I absolutely love.
Thank you. I don't know if it's a higher level or if it's more of a grounding level. I think now that I'm thinking about it, it's almost like I'm weaving together the higher realms with the earthy realms and finding ourselves as people somewhere in between. So we get kind of the best of both worlds when you work with plant magic.
I agree. And one of the things, and I'm going to just hold up your amazing book,
Thank you.
because the notes from an enchanted garden, and you weave in a lot of the magic from the fae, the fairies, and I've made fairy gardens, and when I sit outside in my garden, I watch for the fairies in different places, and
Mhm.
I've planted flowers just for the fairies before, and they are the elementals that
Yes.
really, every flower has fairies, or I've also been told they're called sprites. The flowers will have what are called sprites, correct?
Well, that's one term. I like to call them souls. So I
Ooh.
think you and I probably when we refer to fairy, we're probably not thinking of the little Tinkerbell
Right?
kind of toot toot tiptoeing through the tulips kind of fairies, but more of the spirit
Mm.
of the earth, the
Right.
spirits that keep everything going. And I just wrote about this yesterday. It's so funny that you bring that up about how I was writing a post about finding your spirit
Okay.
plant. And I think we've all heard of our spirit animals, but we can have a
Sure.
spirit plant
Yes.
as well. And I was writing how all plants of a certain type, of a very specific type, like all Fuji apples
Okay.
share the same soul. All Granny Smith apples share the same soul. So when you're working with a particular, say, a lavender angustifolia, which is a basic lavender, then you've got a lavender. Some of the new varieties are phenomenal. Lavandula spectacular, I think. So those would each have a different oversoul,
Okay.
just like artemisias. So you've got wormwood, you've got sweet annie, you've got mugwort. All of those have their own specific oversouls, and they're like people. You
Hmm.
know, sometimes you meet someone and you just feel like you've known them forever. You belong with them.
Hmm.
Um, there are other people that you might meet, and you think, a friend told me this, and I loved it. I love you when you're over there, away from me.
Love
I don't want to
observing
say,
you.
yes, I don't, it's not that I don't like you. I just
Right.
love you over there away from me. And so there were people like that that you don't gel with, and
Right.
that's okay. I
Mhm.
mean, we all have different filters, we've got different hot buttons, and we're not meant to connect with everyone. The goal, I think, of us being here in this lifetime is to find those people we do connect with. And the same thing can be said for plants. There are plants that we'll connect with and that we can nurture, and who in turn they will help to nurture us
Mhm.
in very subtle ways, ways that we may not even know or recognize. But we may see, or we may grow a plant in our garden, and one day it reminds you of something. Uh,
Mm.
like when I grow lilacs, I actually have my grandmother and great grandmother's lilacs growing in my gardens. And I have moved the babies whenever I've moved houses. And I have 48 right now. I keep looking over
Oh,
my
they're about
screen
ready to
into my
bloom, are
garden,
they? Yeah.
but I've got about 48 peony plants that have been handed down through my female
Nice.
lineage.
Yep.
So when I see those plants or I work with them, um, I'm reminded of those strong, powerful, healing archetypes that I descend from.
Mhm.
And I think that's the beauty of getting out in your garden, of working with the plant spirits, with the fairy, um, because they can help to bring us to that place of either remembering, and really that's what it's all about. We just have to remember where our soul has been.
Right.
uh, and I think we've got two kinds of DNAs. We've got our physical
Yep.
DNA, which says, I've descended from this Eastern European line.
Mhm.
Then we've got our spiritual DNA, which says, this is where my soul has been.
Mhm.
And so when you see something and you're drawn to it, but you don't know why, I believe that's our soul recognition.
Mhm.
That we have worked with that plant before. We have studied that subject. We have written, a particular book. We have been an artist. So when we hit these passion points in our life, I think it's as much our physical DNA pointing us in that direction as it is our soul taking the lead and saying, you really loved this before. We're going to let you try it again.
You are helping me with something that I've been dealing with in my gardens. I have a beautiful home with 2.5 acres of probably at least a dozen perennial gardens and close to 50 mature rhodies. And we've had to take out probably a dozen huge hemlocks because of a blight. And
Mhm.
it has really hurt my heart. And having to now re-sculpt the garden in their absence, it's like I've gone through a mourning. It
Of
is
course.
really interesting how it was really, really affected me deeply, that it's not just changing the landscape, it is shifting the energies,
Mhm.
because now I'm having to decide who will take their majestic place, who is going to be here, and how am I, simple human, yet this essence of spirit of me wants to, is ruminating over how can I redefine this landscape that has been here for 30 something years.
Mhm.
And it's a
Well,
real
I think you
challenge.
just hit on the two key words there, replace or redefine.
Mm.
And let's go with redefine,
Yeah.
because if anybody knows anything about me, I live by everything in life goes either into the fear column or the
Right.
love column.
Yeah.
And we need to move from one to the other.
Correct.
I think that's our purpose, that's our mission, from day one to day
I love
50
it.
million.
I love it.
And so I think when you move from that point of replacing,
Hmm.
which kind of intimates that you've got this hole
Hmm.
that you need to fill,
Hmm.
into redefining,
Right.
like what wants to grow, what wants to bloom and flourish. And I think you'll find that your gardens are going to lead you in a whole different direction.
Hmm.
And maybe you'll be able to plant things that wouldn't have thrived in the
Right.
past.
Yes.
And plants communicate. We know, I mean, trees have this amazing ability to communicate with each other through those little teeny tiny fibers on
Hmm.
their roots. And they'll tell each other, okay, fellow hemlock, this is our time. We have lived a good life. We've done what we can. And now it's time for us to pass the torch.
And
And
and you know what's
let's
really
see.
interesting is I name my plants just like I name my car. I have every so Maggie, the star magnolia, was dwarfed by these hemlocks. She now is center stage,
Right?
and she is in full bloom, and she is
Yes.
showing off. She is the star of the show
Hmm.
right now. So I'm having to, and I have a background as a landscape designer. I don't know whether you even know this, but there was a
Hmm.
period of time where I had a garden company and I was the designer, and we would plant um, bird gardens, butterfly gardens, fairy gardens, that kind of stuff, sports
Hmm.
gardens. So I'm really struggling with what does Maggie want? Because this is now her garden. She is the star of this garden. So I'm having to decide, who does she want to surround her? Now that the hemlocks have opened up this huge space, I'm having to resculpt with stones and just completely redefine the whole space. And you're right, I have to just kind of sit with it and see, who does she want to share
Well,
space with.
and by the same token, how do you want to
Mm,
feel after this? How do you want to redefine your interaction with the garden?
mm,
Is it time to simplify, maybe by cutting down on the numbers of
yes.
varieties and going with big swaths of something? Or is it time to focus on lots of different? So this is an opportunity for you as well to
Mm.
flex some new ideas.
That's really interesting, because that's I have been up at night ruminating over this. I love that we're having this conversation, because other people do this too with their plants and their gardens, and be it a home balcony garden. Our plants bring us joy. You mentioned grounding. Those of us who live in the snow, yes, my dear friend Sharon goes out barefoot in the snow and grounds, but most of us are not that adventuresome. But the plants that surround us, just by looking at them, just by touching them, by being around them, they are what reconnect us with the
Mhm,
soul, the spirit of Earth, of Gaia, and all of
mhm.
her elementals. They are what get us away from this wonderful technology that we use. But if we surround ourselves with the right type of plant life, botanicals, trees, vegetation, it infuses our soul with it regenerates us.
It does. And we can also use them as 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 keys or touch points as we move through our year,
Mm,
or our life cycle as a
right.
human. We can look at the snowy months of winter really as a time to rest. Things haven't died,
Mm-mm.
but they're going within. They're thinking about, okay, what do I want to do? When the sun starts to get a little stronger. Um, so we can sort of tap into that wisdom too, and we can look at how we craft our lives through the seasons
Mm.
by linking in with what are the plants doing? What is earth?
Hmm.
What is our environment
Yeah.
doing? Is it time to leaf out? Is it time for us to expand and think about something new? Is it time for us to really be in full bloom and go whole hog, for whatever we're
Yeah.
doing, whatever we're trying to manifest or grow? Is it time for us to start slowing down and reaping
Mm.
what we've worked so hard for? And
Mhm.
then, of course, it's time to rest again.
Mhm.
So even though I'm totally not a winter person, I am trying very hard to just work with those lessons, to link into the energies of the seasons so that I can be more intentionally in flow
Right.
with what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm. I absolutely agree, and I think this is it's almost like for those of us who are living in the colder climates, it's like we're coming out of hibernation.
Hmm.
Winter is a time that I think what's when Mother Nature puts a blanket of snow over us, she says, "Slow down,
Hmm.
just be." It's a time for introspection and reflection and just be. And then we go through up here, we call it mud season with mud season is now over. So now it's like we have a very short window to act because what happens is we have a long winter season up here and then boom, things just start to come alive really fast. And then things just pop, pop, pop. The flowers start to bud and bloom. And it's keeping up with Mother Nature is exciting and enchanting and wonderful. So, yes, we are right now in that active, let's get this party going.
Hmm. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful time, and I love the way that you have the concepts of the energies of the different plants because I do a lot of moving plants around. I have so many perennials, but if they're not happy there, what I've learned to do is I will put it in a pot. I won't transplant it yet, but if I notice that it's not happy there because of the light, the water, whatever,
Mhm.
I'll put it in a pot and I'll move it somewhere else and just leave it in the pot through the summer and see how it does. No, it's not happy there either. So because it's in the pot, I can move it different places, but it ties in with what you're saying. They like to be around other types of plants, which is people traditionally will put certain groupings of plants together.
Mhm,
And so when we move things around, I have a lot of daylilies. I love my colorful daylilies,
mhm,
but some are tall, some are short, some bloom at different times. So I want to have them to where there's this one is the star. Now is this one. Now it's this one. And if they start competing, it's like, no, that's not too sick. So I will move them around. And then after they've bloomed and they're happy, then I will plant them in the fall. So
great ideas.
so
Mhm,
I've got these little flags in my garden right now where I'm like, that one's not happy. I've got a flag. It's going to be put in a pot. So we can move them around, and that can be a metaphor for us too. We don't
mhm,
always have to stay in that same process, that same stuck place in our life. If we're not happy where we're at, if something is not working, just move it over here for a while,
move it.
try this out,
Mhm,
see how that does, and then find what works for this moment in time because nothing is ever
exactly,
permanent.
exactly. I was kind of thinking along the same lines the other day, because when I look out of my studio, one of my studio windows, um, the lavender overwintered right by the window so nicely, and I think because it's in a little corner and gets a lot of sun, so it was kind of protected. And it's in a raised bed, so, she's able to drain and not get too bogged down. Um, but the mint started coming up through her leaves,
Mm.
and I thought, "This is so pretty." It's
Mhm.
just so, and I know it's very non-traditional, and people will caution me, "Rip that mint out because it's gonna take over," and sometimes it does. But you know what? Sometimes you become friends with somebody that you never expected
Yes.
because you're just different, but it works. And so I thought, well, that's a different kind of companion planting where
Mhm.
they obviously wanted to
Mhm.
be together. Or I remember the days when I tried year after year to plant vervain, and I would order the plants and I would put it in and I would nurse it over the summer, and it wouldn't come back.
Mm.
And then suddenly it starts growing by itself in different garden
Yeah.
beds. And the same with the mullein.
Mhm.
I tried putting it where I thought it wanted to be,
No.
nothing. And now I can't even tell you how many, but I don't have the heart to take them out because they've worked so hard to get there.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sort of one of those wild gardeners where bloom where you're planted, baby.
Yes, exactly, and that's my philosophy. If you don't like it here, fine, we'll move you. If you don't like it there, then you're not supposed to be here in my garden.
Then go find a place for yourself.
Exactly. So here's a fun thing that I just did. Like you, I've pulled the mint out of my groomed gardens and I've got it growing wild on the skirt of the forest, and I will harvest it. And I had it in my freezer, and in jars in my freezer, and I thought, this is silly. I'm dealing with lovely little bunny family who are wanting to nibble on my tulips and my um, phlox. Last
Mhm.
year, they ate all the heads off my phlox. Like, I like my bunnies, they're really cute, but enough of this.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
took my mint out of my freezer because what good is it doing there? And I sprinkled it around all my hostas. This is the dried mint because bunnies don't like any sort of a smell especially the herbs and stuff. So I sprinkled it around all of my tulips and my phlox and my hostas. Let's see if it works.
That is a great idea
Mhm. So
because
you
I
would
even have a
use them the
chapter in my book, I think it's echinacea,
yeah.
where I just bemoan the bunnies
Mhm.
eating every year. They just love those little echinacea leaves,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
so I might just try that.
Because the mint will keep the bunnies away, as will lavender. So I just got some lavender plants. Let's see how the lavender does. But I thought, this is silly to keep it in a jar in the freezer. Let's
Mhm,
use it because we're going to have abundance more as the season grows. Because
mhm,
the mint just likes it here. So
mhm.
it has a purpose.
That's a great idea, I love it.
Yeah,
Companions working together.
that's right. Yeah. Yes, that's how we should all be, is working
Mhm.
together, complementing one another, each other's different skills.
Exactly. I mean, what you're good at, I probably have no passion for,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And I think that's what makes good friendships
Mhm.
too, or good partnerships, good marriages. We don't need to be and we shouldn't be the same. And the plant world is just like that as well. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
So what are you passionate about? What is your big passion?
Oh golly. Um, I love to write.
Mm.
I have a bazillion photographs on my phone. Um, and I love to be in my garden. I could be out there for out, and on weekends, I force myself, I need to do my work
Mhm.
during the week. Um, and then I'm out there.
Yeah.
But as you can see behind me, that's another one of my passions.
Yeah.
I am
You
passionate about making, and I've recently started calling myself a natural magic coach.
ooh.
And I tell people that you have a choice. You can either practice magic or you can just be magic. And I feel like we all are magic.
Mhm.
And I'm not referring necessarily to spells and potions, although this is what's on my mug this morning by weird chance. Um, but magic is the art of reweaving our fate. So, what are those things that we can do? How can we take our life into our own hands and change it into something more beautiful, more fulfilling, more fun? That's how I want to encourage people to approach magic. And so I create intentional products, things that will help us manifest or release or gain clarity, and that's certainly a way that we can shift our lives. But I also have um, a line of scented candles, and I want people to know that everything that they do can be very intentional. Nothing is without thought. I mean, you may think that just grabbing a match and lighting a candle, boom, done. But think about, why are you doing that? You're lighting that candle because of the scent that it's going to help to throw, which will maybe evoke memories or um, evoke a feeling of how you want your guests to feel when they enter your home, or how you want to feel when you're working. So I try to create things that will help people very intentionally live a beautiful life, um, through kind of everyday products, but they're well thought out, and 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 they're pretty.
And Deb, I'm enchanted by your all of your gifts. You have frozen on my screen. I don't know whether you appear frozen on your screen or whether it's frozen
No?
on the recording. Okay, then it's just a glitch in my screen, and we're just going to continue on then. Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So I know that you have, I'm very familiar with floral essences, or just the essence of bringing roses into the house or
Mhm.
peonies into the house.
Right.
Just seeing the flowers gives one level of joy, of comfort, of soothing. I love having fresh flowers in the house. There's the smell, there's the visual part of it, and there's the energy that
Exactly.
is given off. So you create products from the different flowers that you've created, be it salves, because I have my Light Warrior Peony Balm,
Mhm.
which I am so amazed at how it is such a small little thing, but it has a really big scent, and it's just so long lasting. And you have um so many different, like you said, candles, and you have infuses like bath infusions,
Mhm.
so many different products that help us by way of bringing nature in and surrounding us with the wonderful fragrances and essences of nature.
Well, and that is what I like to call plant magic. So it's working with those unseen superpowers. You mentioned the color and the scent of a rose, but rose also has an energetic or spiritual or magical essence to it. What are its superpowers? What can it help us do? Well, if you think of a rose, um, think about the thorns. So she can be very protective.
Mm,
So if you need to set some boundaries, think about working with rose, with the
mm,
spirit of rose.
sure.
Um, Same with mint. But here's the thing: if you don't resonate with mint, just because 17 bazillion authors say if you want to, set boundaries around your house, plant mint, um, the only thing that's going to happen is the mint's going to go wild. It's not going to help you because you have no connection to
Mhm.
mint. You don't like it. It's like asking your next door neighbor who you don't get along with to water your plants while you're gone on vacation. It's probably
Interesting.
not going to work out well. So don't work with mint for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe go to rose. Maybe go to to daylilies, whatever it is that resonates with you. So when I teach my plant magic class, the thrust of it, the basis of it is take what I say, take whatever any other author or expert might say. Does it resonate? Does it feel right? Does it feel good? If it does, use it, run with it. If it doesn't, use it as a jumping off point,
Mm,
but run everything through your own filter. So whether we're working with the essence or the soul of a plant, or whether we're working with those plants for its color, for the way it grows, for its bloom time, all of those things can come into play in our gardens and also in the gardens of our soul.
mm,
We can look at our lives just like we do with the garden. We're going to pick and choose those plants slash people
right.
that work really well with us. And sometimes it's okay and necessary to dig them up, put them in a pot, move them elsewhere, and see if they thrive better over there, away from me.
That is such a great analogy. Many of us are having experiences like that too, where
Mhm,
people are changing, dynamic relationship dynamics are changing dramatically right now,
mhm.
especially for people who are on a 5D journey. Those of us who are on an ascension path, who get what you're talking about, Deb, that they don't think you're too out there. They're resonating with what you're saying. Many of us are having to choose who is going to be in our lives. And
Mhm.
instead of feeling sad or trying to make that old relationship or that old companion partnership that no longer serves work,
Right.
move it to put it in a pot. Just like I said, it's not working in this spot. Move it over here, see where it does work. And
Someone else is gonna need that.
that's right. And they will
Mhm.
thrive somewhere else. Yeah.
Right, right. Over
Yeah.
there, away from me.
How true is this? And then what that also does is it opens space for another type of beautiful blossom to grow in that space, right?
Yes, yes, more possibilities,
Yes.
for divine guidance,
Mhm,
for, um, for fulfilling parts of our purpose that we don't even know about until we make that room, until we release.
mhm.
If we ever want to do any kind of manifesting work, and that, we can certainly manifest um, the people that we need at the moment, just
Right.
like we can manifest $27 or, a new station wagon or whatever it is. Um, Sometimes we need to open up space. We need to release so
Mhm.
that thing that we are hoping, wishing, dreaming for has a place to come in and land. So it's okay. It's good and right and necessary for us to open up space. And I'm really, I'm just kidding. I'm about over there away from me, um,
I don't
but
know, you've
it's
said it enough times to where I get it. I think a lot of people will get it. And they need to recognize that there are toxic people in this world, just like there are toxic plants that we need to take in doses, shall we
Well,
say?
it's like poison ivy.
Yes.
Like I am extremely allergic to poison ivy. My great grandmother could pull it out with her hands.
Wow.
Nothing. Never hurt her. So, it's the same with people or relationships or plants.
Mhm.
They might be, toxic to you or me, but not for the next person
Right.
on their list.
Yeah.
So they have a purpose.
Mhm.
It's just not aligning with mine,
Mhm.
either now or anymore or in the future. And it's okay to kind of be a little, I don't want to use the word selfish, but maybe self-protective
Discerning
and
is a big word this
discerning.
year.
Thank you. Yes, that was my word of 2023.
Yeah.
So I should have learned it by now. But to be more discerning about who our soul aligns with, what kind of energy do we need to move forward as our most fulfilled, passionate, um, mission specific person that we are.
Because as we grow and change, I saw this quote not long ago that we don't talk about trees aging, we call them growing, maturing. So
Mhm,
as we mature and grow, our needs change, our purposes change,
mhm.
our drives change. There's a different level of passion, a different type of passion that happens. And so new people come into our lives to support that new passion.
Mhm.
And what we should be doing is making time and space for those people instead of trying to hold on to the other flowers, people,
Right.
situations that were draining. Make space
Well,
for our new
and guess
passion.
what? I mean, we don't wanna look at it this way, but maybe we're not good for those
Oh,
other people either,
absolutely.
and we need to just mutually release.
Mhm,
Um, so, I think people hesitate to make those kinds of changes,
mhm.
but it's okay.
Yeah,
It's okay. We
it
can look
is.
at it as doing the other person a favor
Mhm.
as well, because maybe their path has changed,
Right.
and we can be grateful that we helped them do what they needed to do, and
Mhm.
now we can give them a little smooch on the cheek and say, "You're on your own,
Yeah,
you know?
yep.
Go forth and prosper."
Like sending a child off on their path as they're
Exactly. Yeah.
graduating from the from the nest.
From the nest, that's right. Our
Yeah.
nest is now done.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
um, yeah.
Look at the things we can learn from all of the things of nature,
Mhm.
the wonderful things of nature.
Yep. And we're kind of in that, well, around here at least, the nests have been built
Mhm.
and the birds are on our porch. It's funny. We've got this old couch that has it's not an upholstery, it's like an old wicker
Yeah,
Victorian piece that I have a big cushion on.
nice.
And at the end of it, I have these um, neck rolls, like
Mhm.
these really plush neck rolls that you can rest your arms on. And for the last few years, this sweet little wren has gone underneath there, and at the very back of it builds this nest. And right now, I go out every day and I like pull up the pillow a little bit. I don't let the dogs see me doing it.
Right, right.
And she's got 6 beautiful pink eggs in there right now.
Um,
So, we can kind of going back to those analogies, those seasonal analogies, the nests have been built. It's what we thought up over the winter.
mhm.
That early spring energy was building those nests. And
Right.
now we're planting those seeds. We're laying the eggs
Mhm.
of what we want to grow in the summer and harvest in
Right.
the autumn.
Nurturing. Yeah, this is the time
Yeah,
to
what we can so it's the time to nurture,
yes.
and so it's a time to find the people that really resonate
Mhm.
with us and who we resonate with maybe, um, as teachers or mentors. It's time for those of us who do those kinds of things to step into our power
Yes.
and do it.
That's one of the
You
things that
know
I've been hearing so much the past couple of
Mhm,
years. You must teach. You must teach. So I've been really more focused on teaching, which is why the TV show, The Warrior Truths from Beyond is the name of the show. And it is a teaching show. I have the Inspiring Hope shows that I've been doing for many years now, and I love it. And it's spotlighting other people. And I filter in things that I have learned as well, but the Warrior Truths from Beyond is a true teaching of the spiritual truths that have come through 30 years of connecting with divine in trance type situations with clients or with journeys with my team or my own personal messages and teaching people how to protect, heal, and empower themselves. So I'm
Mhm.
really excited about that. And it's interesting that it has shifted away from doing as many client sessions because my passion, my mission, my goal is now more to share, to empower others
Mhm.
to take this, what I have learned. I'm planting the seeds that
Mhm.
they may grow into the next wave.
And you're still living your purpose. You've
Oh, yeah.
just changed platforms from one at a time
Mhm.
to many at
Yes.
a time.
That's the
And when you look at it that way, how many more people you can help.
yeah.
And so that's why I've started teaching,
Yes.
and I love it. So yeah, I think I love seeing more women step into, especially women of a certain age who um, maybe have grown up with um, given ideas of what our lives should look like,
Mhm.
and now to have this freedom to do what we really want to do, what we were meant to do. And I'm not saying that I didn't love being a mom, because I loved every second of it, and I'm
Yeah.
still a mom.
Mhm.
But now I can nurture larger groups and feel fulfilled. And that's what I'm trying to do, as you are,
Mhm.
is to empower people to find what it is that they want to do. What do you do well? When my clients ask me things like, well, how do I find my purpose? How do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? And the answer that I received, that I was to tell them, what brings you joy?
Brings you joy. Absolutely.
Do that. We can't all be Mother Teresa. We can't all be, Joan of Arc.
Mhm.
We can be us. We can be joy filled. And when we are doing those things that make us happy, we can start that ripple.
Absolutely. One of the
And
things that I will encourage clients to do is to go back and remember as a child, what did you used to love to
Mhm.
play at? And one of my favorite memories was I used to have tea parties with the fairies in the woods.
Same.
Really?
As you were saying that, I was picturing myself under this huge,
Yeah.
um, I think it was a honeysuckle tree, and I actually had the little tea set.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and
mhm,
I would make there would be like a big rock for the table, and then we would have different places, and I would sit there and we would have these conversations with the fairies. I sometimes would bring my dolls, but not always, but it was typically, would be underneath, like a little secret place that nobody else
mhm,
would find me, and I that was one of my favorite things, so getting into the gardens like you're talking about and connecting with the fairies, the energy, the essence
mhm,
the of our beautiful Mother Gaia in an attempt in a fashion of honoring, of celebrating, of connecting with
mhm.
instead of just using.
Of being in partnership.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as we find what gives us joy, then we're not working, we're playing, we're enjoying, we're celebrating our innate
Mhm.
interests.
We are enjoying.
I like that.
Mhm.
Enjoying. Oh, that's a good one.
It is, isn't it? Just made that up.
You did? That's awesome. So, and you were talking about being a writer. I have to say, your Enchanted Garden notes on Enchanted Gardens from an Enchanted Garden. I love your writing style. I'm a writer too. I've penned 4 books, but my books are very spiritual based,
Mhm.
very much more of a didactic education based. Yours, it's like I'm talking with the fairies.
It's
You're
conversational.
yeah, very, very light and magical. So yeah, I encourage people. I'll put that in the
Thank you. Thank
description.
you. No, I wanted to present it's the book has 28 different um, plant allies. I call them plant allies, plants that I love that grow well for me. Um, and I wanted to present what are some of their less known qualities,
Mhm.
and like what crystals do they resonate with?
Yeah.
What um, moon phase? What gods or goddesses? What are their magical properties? What are their traditional medicinal properties? What is their history? What's their backstory? How did I come to work with them? And what do they, at the very end, I call it what the plant whispers to me at the end of each chapter.
Yes.
What do they tell me that is probably very different than what a lot of authors say you should be
Right.
using that plant for? So it's listening through your own filter to what that plant has to say to you. How does it want to work with you? Is it gossipy? Does it hold a secret? Is it an encouraging plant? Does it want to hide? You know, like the chapter on calendula always gets me because when my mom died, she died in January of 2016, and my dad came to stay with us for a very short time. It didn't work out for any of us because he missed his house. And I thought, well, Dad, you want to come live with me and I'll take care of you. But he had just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Mm.
And so that was very difficult too. And so the calendula was just starting to bloom and he needed a job. And so I would send him out every morning with a basket and he could collect all of the calendula heads for me. So it gave him something to do. It gave him a purpose, but it also helped me. But now, whenever I see the calendula blooming, I think of my dad and I think of my
Mhm.
mom and how that all kind of wove its way together.
Sure.
And so that's what calendula now whispers to me,
Mhm.
that it can be about family dynamics, and those can and should shift
Right.
as well. No matter how much we love somebody, we sometimes just need to shift.
Mhm.
So, same with friendships, same as we've been talking about. So, but that's what I tried to get across in the book was,
Yeah.
for somebody else, it might be about healing because calendula is medicinally a very healing herb, but it can heal souls.
Right.
It can heal hearts as well.
And I like
So,
your connection. You must have at least 4 different plants that are connected with Archangel Michael, who is my personal friend
yes,
and guardian, and he's just all over the place,
he is. He is.
which
Yes,
is
there's.
awesome. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. Well, Angelica,
Yes.
is its botanical name is actually pretty cool. It's Angelica archangelica.
Uh-huh.
So,
Archangels.
which is its Latin botanical name, Angelica archangelica. And I just think it's such a beautiful name to say
Yeah.
and to think about. And when you look at the history of it, it used to bloom um, at the time of the feast day of St. Michael the Archangel,
Okay.
which they've since moved that day. So it's no longer blooming in sync, but those of us in the know know.
That's the other thing that I love is you've got the history, and I like,
Mhm,
the little tidbits of history
mhm,
and just to keep the mystique, the magic, and the miracles alive. I think it's
mhm.
wonderful. So,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you. I
I'm
had a
gonna have to.
blast writing it and
Yeah.
I refer to it all the time.
It was good to pull it off my shelf and really actually was not I was on the coffee table because I've got all
Mhm,
my gardening books out. I'm really planning what I'm going to be doing with these couple of gardens that I have to resculpt, reshape, redefine. And this was I'm going to have to find some angelica. I do not have any. I have most of your other friends, but I
mhm.
don't. I'm going to have to find some angelica and see if it grows up here in the northern country.
I bet it will. I bet it's gonna grow better for you than it will for me.
Oh, okay.
the magical part, supposedly, of Angelica are the roots.
Wow.
And so the first year, and this is just another goofy little thing I wrote about, the first year, it's a biennial. So it's going to
Right.
put most of its growth in the first year and then bloom the second year. And its magic is in the roots medicinally.
Mhm.
I had no idea. So I thought, okay, yep, you've already bloomed, out you go. And I tossed it in the compost pile, and we have this adorable groundhog. He's as chubby as can be, and he's deaf and he's blind, but he knows how to get into this burrow that he's made out under the compost. So I just, once I found out, like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have thrown that out. I could just envision him sitting there, you know, a little cross-legged in the Om position, communing with
Awesome.
the Angelica.
Yes. Wow. So
So
now it will then the next year, the third year, it would regrow from the roots, and then the fourth year it would bloom, or does it now need seeds?
then it does need seeds.
Okay, so
So when I
the next
yanked
year,
it, I should have saved
the
the
seeds.
roots,
Okay,
dried them, and
I
used
see.
them for something.
Right.
Um, but I love the leaves. The leaves for me they're bright green and they've got a beautiful, almost like a wide open Queen Anne's lace,
Okay. Yep.
but almost chartreusey, and not tightly packed like
Mhm.
the umbral on a Queen Anne's lace, but more wide open. And so I save the leaves, dry the leaves
Okay.
for incense blends and
Nice.
things like that. I should have saved the roots, but live and learn.
Yeah, next
I guess
time.
the groundhog needed them.
Wonderful. Well, this has been so much fun, and we're
Thank
going
you,
to do this
Lois.
again. We're going to be doing this on the virtual conference that's coming up. You'll be a featured guest on there. I'm really excited about
I'm
this
excited as
to
well.
really be able to share with other people to help them to navigate this beautiful planet that we live on. That we are so honored to be sisters together on this trip, this journey.
I feel the same way. Thank you, Lois.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much
much.
for having me on today.
You're welcome. And I like to tell everyone until next time, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day.
Absolutely.
God
Thank you.
bless.